Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to episode 57 of the Bluebirds Nest. Joining us again on the Nest this week is a man that you will all be very familiar of, I am sure. It's the chairman himself, Mr. Rob Edwards. Croeso nôl, welcome back, Rob.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me back again.
I think this could be your fifth appearance on the Nest now, and I do believe it's a really good time to have you on. It's been a busy old season, busy phase 2, and a very busy last few days as well. So there's lots to go through. Tom on the socials gave an opportunity to followers of the club to send in their questions for you this week. It really did open the floodgates up for those responses, and it's supported me with structuring my bullet points this week of what I want to go through. So thank you to everyone who has responded to that. I have included many. First of all, though, I want to go back to the start of this calendar year, 2024. Perhaps another new era was started. 2 new staff additions joined the team behind the team, both with extremely good CVs in their respective roles. Of course, talking about Becky Nuttall as Chief Operating Officer and Dennis O'Connor as Commercial Manager. Thoughts, Rob? You must be really pleased with how perhaps they've both settled in and are putting their stamp on things.
Yeah, definitely. I think they made a massive impact straight away. I think you can see by how on board everyone else is down there with them coming in. Sometimes it takes a little while to kind of implement change of ideas, change of processes, change of thinking. But I think it's both evident they both really want to be there as well, which I think is really, really important. I think as a club like ours, we want people on and off the pitch, not just back office, but players and coaches. We want them all to want to be there, and I think that's evident that how much kind of enthusiasm they've shown early on. That we're a club always tried to be progressive off the pitch and recruit these types of people, and I think we're in a position where we have a really solid basis of a team down there now. And I think obviously a lot of transition with the club and also with the league, so it's extremely busy. But yeah, Dennis is obviously a bit of a local celebrity down in Pembrokeshire, and obviously knows a huge amount of people, so that fits perfectly for his role. And Becky knows the league as well as probably anyone within any club in the Cymru Premier, and you can see that by kind of the knowledge that she's shown around regulations and structure and the things that she wants to implement kind of within her role and around the club. And it's important that we've got someone there who's the eyes and ears, I guess, of the board and can operate our vision that we want in a hands-on capacity. And I think so far we've seen that. So yeah, really happy with how both of them have fit in, and I think we can be really excited by what we can achieve, not just with those two, but obviously spearheading their departments, but yeah, everyone across the club now. I think we have a clear idea of where we feel we can take it, and a lot of passion, a lot of energy from everyone involved. So yeah, I'm excited by what's coming.
Awesome. Yeah, you can see, you mentioned Dennis's experience and knowledge, what that's having. Particularly, we've had lots of local organisations joining us for sort of entertainment at home games, for example. And I know there are lots of additional commercial and community-based things on the horizon. But want to focus perhaps more on Becky's impact, the licence being sort of, well, it's such a big thing for clubs in the Cymru leagues. Obviously this week, Pontypridd's appeal rejected. They'll now be, yet another club relegated through off-field matters rather than on the pitch. Thankfully, though, for us, the UEFA and Tier 1 application, they've both sailed through then, have they?
Yeah, we obviously had a bit of a surprise last year, but we acted and dealt with the necessary. I think a lot of people, and there's obviously been a lot of press around obviously Pontypridd losing their license. The FAW, they're there to help clubs get through licensing. They're not there to prevent clubs getting licenses. So I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding around the fact that it's not a consultative approach. Every club knows exactly what they need to do. We fell victim of that last year, and we obviously we recognised that we had to act, and we put a plan together, and we acted quickly, and ultimately we were successful. So I don't get the animosity around the whole licensing process. I think it's the FAW are there to help us and to make sure that kind of infrastructurally, financially, morally, everything is in order. I think that's key to any league at any level. So I think that's a kind of myth that I think needs to be dispelled. And look, we acted last year, and what we put in place then, and obviously with regards to the East Stand, which has caused a problem at that point. We've done some kind of remedial works and made sure that it's safe. And look, we didn't have any issues this year with regards to the criteria. I think our kind of financial and regulatory affairs have always been in really good condition, even long before I took over. So yeah, there was no real kind of concern going into this year. And like I said, there's communication from October right the way through to the end of March with regards to licensing. So every club knows exactly what they need to do, and like I said, there is a consultative approach. So I don't feel there should be the kind of animosity towards the FAW and the licensing process that there is, I guess, by people that don't necessarily know what's actually involved in that process.
You've been very diplomatic. I like it. You mentioned the East Stand there, then, and obviously that's been a bit of an ongoing saga. It's been reopened over the last few months now. People have been able to utilise what seats remain there. Are you able to update followers of the club, and people interested? What's the situation with that?
So we still have an ongoing kind of litigation case. I don't think there's any real concern around the actual, I guess, the standard of what was put in place. But obviously the law works in funny ways, and there's obviously a lot more to it than that. So we're still going through kind of legal consultation with regards to what we can do. In the interim, we wanted to make it safe, which we believe it is. And obviously, as per the safety reports that happen as part of the licensing, so we don't have any issue with regards to that. So yeah, there's kind of ongoing matters. We hope to get a resolution in the next month or two. We do have plan B, C, and D, which at some point hopefully we'll be able to kind of put that out to the wider network with regards to our plans for the whole area, not just the stand, but also the kind of the changing rooms, the meeting space, the bar areas, the kind of way people can access the stadium. So there's lots of kind of longer term plans that obviously the stand forms part of that. Obviously, we've been open about the pitch project as well that we're trying to make traction on. So yeah, we've got sort of plan B, C, and D. But I think at the moment we're a club with growing attendances, which is great, and we're chuffed that we're pushing 500 as an average and great attendances leading up to the end of the season. Particularly after kind of challenging periods. Again during the season, fans have kept with us, which is great, but we're still kind of 500 spectators. I think if we were pushing 1,000, 1,500, then obviously the redevelopment of the East Stand would be a much bigger priority. So we just have to sort of put things into perspective that we can operate as we are, as a safe environment, and fans can enjoy the atmosphere. So I think it's something that, obviously, from an aesthetic point of view, we want the place to look and feel as best as we can, and there are kind of longer term objectives. So yeah, we need to wait and see what happens over the next few months before we look to implement other options. But it's something that is in the agenda, and we have a number of ideas to improve, particularly that side of the stadium, alongside the kind of area as a whole. So yeah, as soon as we're able to communicate formally, we'll put a much bigger update. But yeah, we have a number of ideas around it.
Exciting. Lots of what you said I want to pick apart there and ask you more on. We'll come to the increase in attendances and the season on the field later on, but I want to sort of touch on that UEFA license, achieving that. Obviously, the experiences at Cardiff City Stadium last summer were incredible. I know social media was full of people saying, why not the Swansea.com? Why not Parker Scarlets? And, obviously we were trying to communicate as much as we could. We couldn't use those because I think it was music concerts and relaying the grass surface that just restricted us from having something perhaps a little closer to Pembrokeshire. But from my perspective and many's, I think playing at the National Football Stadium of Wales for those games, looking back, was just immense. But by gaining the UEFA licence, again, I was misunderstood as well. I thought that meant European games at the Oggy Bridge Meadow, but that's still not the case, is it? Right, we'll have to relocate if and when we get to Europe this summer.
Yeah, no, we're quite a way off being able to host European games. You need 1,500 covered seating to be able to host, amongst obviously other areas. I think, and in other areas we could probably get there, but the seating is obviously we're not anywhere near that at the moment, even with a fully built East Stand. So there's again, it's a long-term objective to be able to play European games at the Bridge Meadow, but we're not there yet. So at the moment it's 1,500. We have Wales has a dispensation of 500. So as it stands, we could play there with 1,000 covered seating, which is kind of a medium-term objective. But UEFA could take that away at any point. So we're looking for the kind of the bigger picture. So no, we have a ground sharing agreement as part of the UEFA license, as many clubs do, because I think there's only one, possibly two grounds in the Cymru Premier that can host European football. So yeah, last year we had an agreement with one of those clubs. Unfortunately, that was revoked by UEFA after the licensing process. So we had a number of months to find a replacement. So obviously Parky Scarlet, Swansea, Llanelli, there was a number of places that we would ideally have chosen to play the game, but Cardiff were fortunate enough that they allowed us to host it there and be one of the first to run on their new pitch. And yeah, I think that we can't look back with any regret with regards to where of playing there, and obviously the performances over the two games there were just unbelievable. The support was immense, and I still watch the documentary back in those episodes at least twice a month, and just can't quite believe it was all real, to be honest. But yeah, we can have no regrets with the whole campaign, particularly focusing on the stadium. Cardiff were amazing to us and took a lot of that pressure away. And obviously from a match operational point of view, everything was in place there already, as it's the national stadium. I think if we were to look elsewhere, there'd be kind of a lot more work that we'd need to put in to make sure it was compliant with kind of European fixtures. But Cardiff is obviously a huge stadium, and the FAW were delighted because their work was a lot less in terms of guiding us through that process. So absolutely no regret with going to Cardiff. And yeah, look, this season we have a few more options. So we'll see where we go as and when, if and when we get into that position. But yeah, last year was a bit of a late dash, and we were very fortunate to be looked after by Cardiff. But yeah, the UEFA license isn't directly related to the structure of the stadium. We're a little way away from that. I'd say we're probably 3 to 5 years away from being able to host European games there. But again, all part of the bigger picture, which will hopefully drip feed over the coming months and years with what we want the Bridge Meadow to look and feel like.
Definitely exciting times ahead, like you said. You mentioned there a lot of hard work between the playoff final victory and putting things in place to play those European games. I know yourself, alongside Julian as vice chairman, Mared, Dan, and Ben, obviously, who was on with us a few weeks ago. We've had 2 new additions, but firstly to the board, Neil Thomas, former midfield maestro. He joined the board of directors earlier this year. Had a chance to meet him face to face in recent fixtures that he's come to support us at. I'm looking to get him on the Bluebirds Nest very soon as well to discuss his playing days and perhaps his new role, as well as the other directors as well. They're waiting in the wings for their moment to come and have a chat. But he must have seen a big difference in the club since his playing days. What are your thoughts on sort of, that having that past player from a previous generation, I suppose?
Did Neil play for the club? Did he? He never actually mentioned that he used to play for us. No, he drops the odd image of a 30-odd-year-old Neil Thomas into the group at times. So he definitely makes it clear that he's represented the club. But no, for us is great. We're obviously, most of the board members, aside from Marid, have had no previous association with the club whatsoever. So everyone's bought into it, and it's become an obsession with all of us. But it was great to have somebody like Neil, who not just knows the area, knows the league, but has played for the club and understands the kind of values of the club back then, which I don't think the values have necessarily changed from back that far. But obviously we've tried to implement a very kind of progressive look and feel throughout the club, which hopefully is seen and by everybody inside and outside the club, which we believe it is by the kind of feedback we've got and the people we've been able to attract on and off the pitch. So yeah, Neil was vocal from our conversation that once the opportunity came out, he was really excited to be a part of it. And there's another skill set, someone obviously very successful in his career. Yeah, I think he'll be able to add a lot of value. But that kind of core understanding of the club and the area in the league, I think he actually commented on our European adventure during one of those games. So yeah, he's familiar with where the club has been over the last couple of years, and yeah, he's fitting really well. And look forward to working with him and putting him through his paces next week as well.
Definitely. Last few days, and big news from the club, a big milestone for the club, I guess. I think you tweeted saying the first step of the next step, which I really liked. I think that was really apt about the announcement. The press release that went out, I suppose, to many, introducing Morley Sports Management and obviously the newest director on the board, John Hamander. Tell us about the background behind, firstly, then, MSM.
So obviously when I first came across Haverfordwest during that time during the beginning of the pandemic, so Haverfordwest is limited by guarantee, so there are no shareholders, so it's effectively run by a committee. So there was nothing to buy. I think it's still a popular myth that I bought the club. There was nothing to buy, so it was purely a business case put forward to the current directors at the time, and obviously the chairman David, and we had probably 6-8 weeks of conversations, and it was unanimously accepted. And obviously I started this crazy journey. But the intention was, I always knew I would only be able to take the club so far. But at that point, not just because of the structure, but because I guess of the stature of the club and the league, it wasn't investable. So the idea was to get the club to a point where we've created a blueprint, which is kind of our internal model, with how we've got to where we've got now, with the view of potentially then looking to roll this out in a number of other regions, countries, to see if we can replicate this model and build a kind of a small group of not just football, multi-sports clubs that are sustainable, have the same ethos. With that becomes economies of scale, more sponsorship opportunities. There's a reason why the multi-club model is becoming, obviously as a Man City fan, you'll be particularly familiar. We're not quite operating at the same level as yet, but there's a lot of clubs that actually have direct relationships with other clubs and multi-sport. So that's kind of was always the plan initially. So the one element is obviously let's prove this concept and prove that we can replicate, which creates an investable opportunity. But then structurally, obviously, the club doesn't have shares, so the idea would be to create a company around that does have shares, that will have agreements with, I guess, the other opportunities that we take on, to be able to kind of access, not necessarily saying strict profits or anything like that, but if the clubs were to be successful, then we could use that MSM vehicle to then fund and develop all of those opportunities simultaneously. So that was kind of that was always the idea of having that structure. Obviously, we haven't really been particularly forthcoming with any information outside, because there was no purpose for that company at that stage. But we're in a position now where we believe we've achieved something really special with Haverfordwest. We believe we can replicate that again, and yeah, the structures now come into play, and we've been able to attract somebody kind of with John's background and experience to join us on that journey. And look, it's from an investment point of view, it's our first investor. We have a kind of a target figure that we want to get to, so we're in discussions with other people. We'd love interest locally if there's people that want to support Haverfordwest and kind of the bigger picture. We'd love to have discussions to kind of get to that point as soon as possible, and that will then safeguard on the future of the club. And the ideas we've got for the longer term, we quite want to keep riding the tide. We don't want to get to a point where we have to not pull back, but we've got an aggressive plan that we want to achieve, and we're backing ourselves to do that, and we'll back ourselves to bring in the right people to help us get there. And obviously, there's the bigger picture around that being the kind of multi-sport business, which with this will also enable us to take a bit more seriously and pursue other opportunities. So yeah, it's probably not the most straightforward position, but we've tried to create a structure that is kind of simple, makes sense to everybody, and kind of gives everyone what they want. From a Haverfordwest point of view, it gives us the ability to keep growing, and from an MSM point of view, it gives us the opportunity to pursue other ideas and grow a separate business alongside it, really.
I've flashed your email address up on screen there, just for anybody, like you said, locally, regionally, nationally, or in John's case, internationally. Obviously, he's of Swedish, his residency in an international capacity. What do you see his role going forward? Obviously, his CV is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, he's obviously got great business experience and been really successful. So yeah, obviously from Sweden, currently lives in Croatia. Yeah, very kind of international, almost not too far from where we actually ventured from Europe, I guess, Scandinavian region and southeastern European region. So initially he's kind of a watching brief initially. I think he's been sort of honest that although he knows the football landscape and the sports landscape really well from a kind of operational, but also kind of structural point of view and what goes on behind the scenes in running sports clubs. He's not familiar with the Welsh Prem, which is actually we've had many discussions over WhatsApp and lots of pictures asking what this is and what this means. So he's been very hands-on in terms of understanding the club, the league, and what's kind of got us to this point so far. So I think in the initial point of view, it's probably going to be a purely advisory, adding input and ideas in terms of the bigger picture, and not hopefully it could become kind of as hands-on as he can commit really going forwards. But yeah, at the moment he's just obviously bought into the concept of what MSM is, but more importantly, he's been super active with regards to following Haverfordwest, and he's 4 for 4 so far. So since we actually started having discussions, and he started following the club, we've won every game. So I've asked him just a couple more, and then we can. I don't mind sacrificing the streak, but yeah, 2 or 3 more would be lovely, and we see where we go from there. But no, it's really sort of given us all a lot of confidence that in what we've tried to put together, that we can attract somebody with kind of John's kind of success and skill set. And in the medium term, I think he'll add a huge amount of value, particularly with opening the club up and the group up to a wider kind of football network, and not just financially. That's kind of knowledge base and contacts. I think it's really important to not take any relationship for granted in football, particularly where we are and how isolated we are. The more we can partner with other clubs and gain information from outside of our area, I think we'll always benefit. So it's not just a kind of financial benefit, but I think there's a operational benefits too with having somebody out in the kind of bigger community that can raise awareness and put us in touch with good people. So really happy to have him on board, and I think he's desperate to get down there at some point, and hopefully we can introduce him to all the local hotspots and our lovely fan base, and I'm sure he'll have a lovely time.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will. A croeso cynnes is a warm welcome awaits in Pembrokeshire for John, who, like I said, I'm looking forward to getting on the nest at some point to find out a bit more. But I do believe there's plans in place with the Cleddau Casuals for a Swedish flag to be matching the Maltese flag we've already got up on match days. A popular question that came in from followers after the press release this week, that it sort of mentioned that investment on and off the field. Where do you see specifically that investment going? Where's the priority? Is it the ground improvements that you briefly touched upon? Is it facilities or player recruitment?
You can tell current first team players and any potential targets it's not going to be on players. I think the idea of investment is you invest £1 to get £2 back. So by by on-field, that's not necessarily directly in terms of player recruitment. It's in ways that the club can generate additional income to support on-field growth. Players are not investments, not at this level. I mean, if you're Chelsea and you're buying young players for 50 million with the idea of selling them for 100 million, then that's an investment. But at this league, it's the complete opposite to that. So it's more so infrastructurally. Obviously, we've got a number of projects going on at the minute. We've got ideas around the stand as we've discussed, and other areas around the club. In additional personnel, I think we're keen to kind of re-engage heavily in the community, which obviously brings in residual income in terms of additional fan numbers, additional clubhouse hire, additional sponsors, partners. So everything that we invest is going to be to generate additional revenue to support the development of the first team. It's not a case of trying to directly invest into the player matters, because there's no guaranteed return from that. So the investment also in the football circles is relatively modest, but we know what we feel we can achieve with a certain amount of investment, and that's not investment that's going to be spent day one. That I think I used the word before, is safeguarding the development of the club over a longer term. So it's not a case of an amount of money going in and large amounts of money being spent on projects. It enables us to take advantage of opportunities that come across, and enables us to keep building the kind of foundation, growing revenue, which we've been able to do every year, and that then supports the kind of the business end of the club, which is the playing staff. And I think we're very lucky to have someone like Tony who understands how the club needs to operate. I think we were really open at the beginning as to how we want to progress the club, and yeah, he's bought into that, and he's very wary of how we want to grow the club, and completely supportive of that. So we're lucky to have someone like Tony who kind of understands our approach, and he's obviously signed an extension, so he's with us for the next 2 years, and we've got obviously longer term plans off the pitch. So hopefully that will both coincide, and we'll get success off both. But yeah, it's definitely it's not an upfront investment in one particular thing. It's a kind of a medium term agenda to put things in place to continually grow the revenue the club generates, and support what we need to support on and off the pitch. So I know it does, kind of things do come out of the club, not from the club, but externally, people looking in, they do see that obviously there's been some investment, and it creates this image of qualifying for the Champions League and winning the league. Yeah, look, we'd love to do that, but we have to get to a position where we're not relying on European money to keep the club afloat, and it does take longer, but I'm sure when we get there, we'll be in a really strong position to compete year on year. We don't want to be in a position that clubs have obviously very recently, and also in the past, where there's investment in the wrong areas and it's not sustainable. That's not a position that we want to be in. And I always said, if I left the club, I'd want it to be in the same position as I took it over. So it's a longer term play, and I think we just need to show a bit of realism around that, and not get too carried away. But based on where we feel we can take it with the investment, the people we've got on board, and the plans we've got, I think it will be. I'm really looking forward to where we could get to. But yeah, we have to do it the right way.
It's really encouraging to hear you say that, the sustainability and the safeguarding of the club going forward. You look at it, Neath in particular springs to mind, Llanelli once upon a time as well, to an extent, really through everything at European qualification, and almost needed that every year to maintain it. So not relying on that European money, it breeds a long-term plan and longevity as a club. With that, tease me up, I suppose, for the £6 million question now. Finally, I think this is going to be answered next week, I believe. The FAW meeting with clubs across the country. I think across 2 days in the south and the north, I believe it's sort of how they're going to do it. We'll finally hear about the Cymru Premier review and the outcomes, which you've been a part of that consultation over the last 12, maybe 24 months, I think. You spoke to Scorio. I enjoyed your chat with Ivan Gwilym that went out on Scorio's podcast over the last few weeks. You very much give your thoughts on the need of the Cymru League in a sort of holistic overall view. With a Haverfordwest hat on now then, what are you hoping to hear that benefits us directly?
I think that obviously what's going to be rolled out across the league is going to be to all clubs consistently. Obviously, there needs to be everyone needs to have access to the same level of funding and the same resource. I think, look, as I said at the beginning, we've always tried to be progressive in terms of bringing in the right personnel to be able to run the club, and to grow its awareness on and off the pitch, to grow its revenue, and we've been able to do that. A lot of clubs have not as much, and although we still rely on volunteers for a lot of what we do, we have a number of people that are qualified to run certain areas within the club. So I think that investment in people, whether that's people we have already, which will enable us to employ a different position, I think that's really important. The main thing for me is, I mean, since coming into Haverfordwest, I've always felt that we're on our own, as every club is on our own. The review was great to see, and it's been a long time coming. But as I said on the podcast, 6 million is nowhere near enough to get the club to where it wants to be. So in my head, we're our own. Any support we get from this is going to be vital in terms of helping us progress. But I've always seen the club as our own project. We have to make sure we do the best we can to take the club forward. There's other clubs that kind of have a bit of a cry for me mentality, where it's a case of we're never going to achieve these heights. I mean, that you might not, but you're certainly not if you're going to not take things into your own hands and try and develop the club forward. So you can dwell, or you can do something about it, and we've tried to do that. So from our point of view, I'm open to see what comes in that will directly affect us. But what's obvious to me anyway is, like I said, with regards to our investment in Haverfordwest, every pound has to generate at least £1 back, ideally £2. That's the idea of an investment. An investment is not just to put something in place for the sake of doing it. And if the FAW need to see an investment to be able to continually support the league going forward, for me, it has to be in marketing the product of the Football Association, and enabling clubs a resource to market their own clubs, because that's what will generate revenue and enable clubs to grow organically. There's talk of VAR, which for me, where you look at outside the Cymru Premier, I mean, for the most part, you look at the lower leagues, and with no disrespect to any clubs, where we're playing in parks, like in front of 200, 300, 400 people. It's not a negative towards anyone. It's a reality as to where we are. You look at the attendances in the league, and they're not good enough. I think we can still achieve a lot more and kind of take on the North Walian clubs in terms of support. But I think we're looking at this kind of technology, and it's not going to generate any return first and foremost, and it kind of defeats the purpose of trying to improve the standard of officiating. I think for me, it's much more important to spend more money on recruiting, training, and building better relationships between referees and football clubs. VAR is not going to improve the level of refereeing, in my opinion. It's not going to serve a purpose for this point of the investment. I think we're probably a number of years away from doing that. I accept that we need to be progressive as a league, but we need to increase the value of the league significantly before we start looking at anything like this. So yeah, all comes down for me comes down to marketing the league, to increase the appetite for sponsorship, to increase the value of what these sponsorships and TV deals are worth, that ultimately directly impact clubs, and enabling clubs a resource to market their clubs properly.
I think, like you said, marketing. I completely agree. I think if clubs lean towards marketing and inviting people in, you look, community for us is key, and I think the progressive steps in the attendances, we've seen a huge increase in league attendance this year, and obviously the data shows that's a trajectory year on year that is very much going upwards. I think that lends itself to the people. You've got Dennis as commercial manager, sort of speaking to people in the community, Tom on social media, things like the Nest, and all these factors, I think, raises awareness of it. And I think more clubs investing in that side would do the same. So on those attendances, again, you must be really pleased to see that the product is growing, particularly with us.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a testament to the work that everyone's doing to engage with the community and with local companies. We're so isolated where we are. We need everyone on board locally, and there's definitely bridges being built or rebuilt over that period of time. And obviously, you look at attendances when the club was in the Cymru South of 150, 180. We're now close to averaging 500. So it shows that the work that's been put in over the years is definitely working. Obviously, the fanzine came out last week, which we're all really proud of. The supporters page is gaining a huge amount of traction and put some amazing content out. We have fan representatives now on that report to the board on a monthly basis and kind of bridge that gap even further between fans and the club. So it's not necessarily a huge cost investment. It's just being visible and putting the time in and having a strategy around how you're going to impact people locally. I think we're giving a lot to Pembrokeshire, and we're starting to see Pembrokeshire giving a lot more back to us. But that's not a 12-month project. That's been over the last 4 years. Although the first year we weren't let anyone in, but we still put foundations in place during that time to say, look, when you can come, we'll be ready for you, and we'll make it worth your while. And obviously we saw that from the first game when fans were allowed back in. We had nearly 900 at the Bridge Meadow. So it's a long hard grind, but we're seeing the fruits of it. And you look year on year, attendances are growing. So there's no reason why we can't continue that. A lot of attendances bring in more money, more exposure, creates a kind of a bigger book value to sponsorships and partnerships. So it all kind of plays a part in taking the club forward in a number of ways. So we're all. I know Ben loves a spreadsheet. He's been monitoring our attendances over the last few years, and it's great to see that we're increasing numbers significantly, and seeing we're sort of right up there now in terms of the most supported clubs in the Cymru Premier, which is exactly where we want to be. And I think it will just keep continuing to grow. And with the initiatives we're putting on at games with Pure West and penalty shootouts on the pitch, and it's great seeing the mascots coming out and the smiles on their faces, and young players asking for autographs, and alpacas and dogs, and got wildlife on one down there at times. But it's great to see that there's a buzz around match days, and that's kind of what we want to continue to create, and that you never know when new people are going to come into the game for the first time. So we don't want to take it for granted. We want to make sure that every game is something that people can remember and entice them back. So all fruits of a lot of hard work from a lot of people over the years. But we're all really happy with where it's going, and proud to see so much engagement from fans and taking their own initiatives to add value to the club. So that's brilliant.
Like what you've said about every question I've posed, it seems the future's bright almost. It's an exciting time to be getting on board with the journey now, or if you've been a part of it for many years. That being said, on-field matters now. Then we are 48 hours away from the biggest league game of the season. We travel up to Pontypridd on Sunday afternoon, the SDM Glass Stadium in Bridgend. The winner takes all for that final European playoff spot. Up until now, Rob, how have you found, reflecting on the campaign so far?
It's been difficult. I think it feels like 2 seasons in one. Really, we've not actually been able to take stock of what we achieved at the end of last season and what we achieved during Europe. It's just everything's all really rolled into one, and it takes its toll. I think physically, mentally on a lot of us. I mean, I was an absolute mess by the time the season started, and we hadn't even kicked a ball in the Cymru Premier yet. So I can't imagine what it was like for the players. It's. I don't think people realise how much it takes it out of you, but also how much you want to do it again. So it's kind of a weird situation. But I think a lot of change in the summer as well on the pitch. A lot of new players coming in, and straight into preparing for Europe, really. So there a lot coming in with no experience in the Cymru Prem, but obviously we perform way above what our level suggested over Europe, and that's a testament to Tony Waggy and the rest of the team to be able to get the players up to that level, and to the players themselves. I mean, over those 4 games, they were absolutely immense and gave absolutely everything. You could see by the way they were limping off, and it was carnage. But I think when the Cymru Prem then hit, which was I think a week after we ended in Cardiff,
Mm.
I think it was a real eye opener for a lot of players that the Cymru Prem is very, very different to play in European football. It's an unforgiving league. You don't get time on the ball. It's physical. It's direct. A lot of times, there's clubs that do play good football, and I think we're one of them. But ultimately, there's a lot more streetwise clubs in the league than we are, and I think a few didn't quite learn or expect that as quickly enough, and it did sort of contribute towards a tricky start. But look, we peaked again, sort of midway through the first phase, picked up some great results. I think Connors Key away was one of those defining games, because that showed that was a real gritty performance, and with the 2 midfielders of a combined age of 35 in the middle of the pitch up against probably one of the best midfields in the league was amazing to see. And yeah, I think we took a lot of confidence from that we can do the physical side of it. And again, sort of up and down runs since then, but we've again sort of peaked towards the right time of the season. Obviously 4 in a row. I think Pennybont are unbeaten in 5 as well, so they're also coming good at the right time. So no, it's a bit of a blur at times. It feels like it's just been a 24-month season, but that we're in with a shout again in terms of extending our season at least to the playoffs and see where we go. But under no illusion, I mean, we've been done a few favours really in terms of some points deductions. As I said on the Scorio podcast, you look at games where we probably could have easily picked up another 2, 4, 6 points, and we'd been home and dry by now. But we're in the position we're in. We've been helped out a little bit with point deductions. I feel we've been unlucky with points that we could have picked up, as I said, and injuries again has played a massive part of this season. I mean, you look at people like Chaz, Dylan, Elliot, Kyle. These are players that probably our most experienced players in our team.
Yeah,
and 3 of them haven't kicked a ball all season. So it's a massive. Makes a massive difference, and unfortunately, obviously, we're not going to be able to see them now for the rest of the season. So we'll have to keep going as we are. But I think we've shown there's a lot of quality in the squad, and I think they're, as I said, peaking at the right time. And we owe Pennybont one. In the time I've been in charge, we've lost every game at Pennybont. So yeah, streaks are there to be broken. But
quite right.
yeah, look, it's going to be extremely tough team. You see how effective they are when they're on it. We need everyone at 7s and 8s as a bare minimum on Sunday to get us through. But I'd rather be in our position than theirs. And I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's as we always say, it's a roller coaster of emotions with this club, on and off the field. There's always drama, and I'm sure it will be a dramatic afternoon. We will be there providing Bluebirds Nest live audio commentary. You mentioned the Sunday game, firstly, Connors Key away. That bodes well for us. We're undefeated on a Sunday. It's just dawned on me. So that's good. But Pens will have some big selection dilemmas, I think, to make for the starting 11. You mentioned the young guns who've performed for us this season. The development squad are also in action on the same day down the road from Pennybont in Pontypridd. They are top of the development league themselves. 3 games to go, I believe. I've really tried hard not to turn any pressure up on them when discussing Steve Batty and his squad's performances over the last few weeks in particular. But right now, it's the very, very end of the business end of the season with that. What are your thoughts on the job that Steve and the staff and the boys have done there? You know, they're in pole position for the title.
And the turnaround has been unbelievable. I mean, you look at a number of years ago, we really struggled with recruitment in the development team, and we were struggling to get teams out and fulfil fixtures. It was a real not necessarily for any fault of our own. It was just a very difficult period, I guess, for the development squad. But the turnaround over the last 2 years has been amazing. And yeah, this year, if you look at 8 clean sheets in the last 10 games, I think the amount of goals we're conceding is, or the low number of goals we're conceding is incredible, really. And they're grinding out results. I think there's a lot of good performances. I mean, being able to watch the last few games, they're playing some really good football, and we're really unlucky the other night not to get 3 points. But yeah, we're playing great football, and when things are not going their way, they're still finding ways to score goals. I mean, Seth's goal in midweek was outrageous, and there's been great goals all throughout the season. So I think it's a real not just the kind of quality they're showing on the pitch, but the mentality is also really strong. And yeah, look, amazing turnaround. And yeah, Steve's done an incredible job for the academy over a long number of years, but in this role, particularly over the last few years, has built something really special. And you can see, I think there's been like 10 debutants from the development team that's played for the first team. That's a huge number, and we need that where we are. We need to be able to rely on the development squad to bring players in to the first team, and also we want to be able to show what with the other way. We want to show there's a clear pathway for players, whether they're in the academy right now or whether they're thinking of joining the academy in the kind of later age groups, that there's going to be a real opportunity to progress into the first team. So no, look, we can't take anything for granted in football. 3 games to go, but again, in a strong position, top of the league. I think we've got Britain Ferry at home, the penultimate game, so that could be a real defining moment of the season. But I really hope they can finish the job. I think they deserve it by how consistent they've been all season. And yes, it's actually I think it generated a real buzz in terms of people going to watch them and support them during this business end of the season. I think there's been good numbers turning up to watch, and that will give them a lot of confidence as well. So yeah, it's been amazing to see. We've all been gripped to it on the board, and we've really followed it this season, and it's great to see them performing so well.
Definitely it is. And I know there's a lot of Pembrokeshire League semi-finals and cup finals coming up over the next few weeks, so there is still football going on at the Oggy Bridge Meadow. But you mentioned there, Britain Ferry, they're second in the league, a couple of points behind. It could come down, depending on Sunday's result, it could come down to Tuesday's fixture at home against Britain Ferry, where the boys might end up clinching the title. So that would be a great watch. And obviously we encourage people to get down and support Steve Batty and his boys there. Best of luck with that. Also announced in the last few days the fact that you will be honing your skills in the dugout next week too. You've been appointed assistant manager for the Valero Charity Legends match. I think it's a bit of a who's who of club legends returning to the meadow that night to face a Valero staff side who I believe is rammed full of quality themselves. I think the majority of staff at Valero involved are playing Pembrokeshire football themselves. So that's going to be a great tie. We've been informed they've been training hard. So you as assistant and your manager, Hall of Famer Wayne Jones, is returning to the dugout. You've got a tough task ahead of you, I think.
Definitely. Look, it's been a game we've spoken about for a number of years, really. I think with Europe in the summer, it kind of took over kind of any of our planning bandwidth to organise anything with the amount involved in Europe. So we had to kind of shelve it during the last summer. But it's been something we wanted to do for a number of years. So I'm really glad we can get something going. I think the theme is great. Obviously, look, it's our 125th year next year. So I think having a group of legends taking the hallowed turf of the Bridge Meadow once again, I think it's a really good time. It sort of celebrates where the club's been over the last sort of 10, 15 years. Great to have Wolsey back, obviously, left on the best possible terms, and we've remained really close. So I'll enjoy being in the dugout. Yeah, I always said I would never interfere with first team matters with any manager. I would never go in the changing room, never go in the dugout. But I'm sure I'll be excused for on this occasion. I'll put my football leaders and my 30 years football manager experience to the test, and hopefully be more of a help than a hindrance to Wolsey for for that game. But no, I think hopefully it'll be a great atmosphere, obviously for a great cause. Valero taking it very seriously. We've had kits made, and I think they're turning up in suits. I think the idea of the infamous Liverpool white suit going into the
Oh,
old
wow.
Wembley could be on the cards. And yeah, they're getting a coach. They're taking it very seriously. As you said, there's a lot of I don't get to watch too much Pembrokeshire League football, but I think the standard's going to be pretty good. So I think there's some Division 1 and 2 players within that squad. Yeah, the names that as to who's playing a part in the Legends squad is going to be, I think, go down very well. So looking forward to seeing the reaction there. And a lot of these people I've never met. Obviously, I know a lot about them by name. So my first kind of experience meeting them will be putting them through their paces. So hopefully they forgive me by the end of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. So hopefully we can get as many there to support a good cause, and obviously see a lot of familiar faces come back. And I'm sure there'll be bar will be open, and I'm sure there'll be a good atmosphere in there afterwards, and an opportunity for people to chat to some of the Bluebirds legends. But yeah, been a long time coming, but really excited for it to happen, and also particularly personally to be a part of it.
Definitely. Are you tracksuit assistant manager, or are you going to be suit and tied?
I haven't decided yet. I don't really. You can't really do half and half. I was going to go full on sort of paisley and just get a nice sheepskin coat and a pipe, but yeah, I'm not sure yet. We'll leave that one open to interpretation for now.
Okay, amazing. Really looking forward to that on obviously Wednesday night, this coming Wednesday, where we see those familiar faces back at the Meadow for such a great cause as well. Last but not least, I think a nod towards another former manager of the Bluebirds, former first team manager Nicky Hyan, who was appointed first team manager of Club Brugge. He was in charge of the NXT squad, sort of the 21 or 23s, I think, at Club Brugge initially, when he left us. But he was appointed first team manager of the last few months. He has led them this week to Europa Conference League semi-finals. They'll now go up against Fiorentina in the semi before Aston Villa or Olympiacos in a final. So thoughts on that? That 2 years ago, he's with us, and now he's in the Conference League semis.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, it was an absolute wild card of a choice, but we kind of were adamant that he could turn the fortunes around and set up a good foundation for the club. I don't think any of us really expected him to be at the club very long. Obviously left fairly quickly, and we were fortunate to bring in somebody with Tony's experience to lead the club where it has today. And kind of I've been really lucky to work with obviously Wolvesy initially, and working so hard to get our kind of vision in motion. Nicky, albeit a short time, kind of took us onto that level, and Tony's carried the club even further. So I've been so lucky to be able to work with such good managers. But no, I hope that when he went over there, it would work out for him. I think he deserves that. I think he was a bit unlucky at his last club in Belgium, but he's clearly had a reputation still there as an up and coming coach, and hence why Bruges took him off us fairly soon after he joined. Obviously, we follow him. I follow him. We keep in touch and look out for his results, and he's done very well with the NXT club last season. I think he lost a few players to the first team this year, so it's slightly more challenging. But yeah, I think he's gone up, and I'm delighted for him. I think four wins and a draw in his last 5 games, and he's only 5 games in charge. I'd love to see him crack on and keep the job. It's great for us as a club personally to be a part of that, and we want any player or coach that goes on to bigger and better things to really smash it, because it creates a kind of a great bit of positivity around the club. And I'm sure he's open, grateful the opportunity that he had. But yeah, I'd love him to go on and continue the season, finish strongly. I think they're not far off. I think they're only 4 or 5 points off top position in the league, where they weren't looking so good 6-8 weeks ago. So yeah, it's amazing really that he's gone over there and done so well. It's not really a surprise to me. And yeah, just really hope that he can continue having success over there. It'd be great for all of us as well to have been a part of that.
Definitely. Well, obviously, wishing Nicky and Club Rouge all the best with that. We will all be keeping a close eye on the upcoming results. We've ticked off all of my bullet points, I believe. So thank you, as always, Rob. Your honesty and openness about everything. I think it really, aligns with our fan-centric approach. The club vision identifies that fan-centric. So being so transparent with everything going on is really, really good. So hopefully anyone who has tuned in for this has found out even more and again, gained clarity. Episode 57 done. We do hope for a few more to come this season. Fingers crossed they'll be covering the build-up to the playoffs over the next few weeks. Worst case scenario, we will return for an end-of-season upcoming Nest Awards of the season. But big few days ahead. Thank you for your time, Rob. Try and enjoy Sunday. It's going to be nerve-wracking, nail-biting, I'm sure. And then, obviously, best of luck on Wednesday night in the dugout.
Thank you. No, great to be back on.